LaKeisha Fox. Hello, LaKeisha.
Hi, Coach Mo. Hi, ladies.
LaKeisha came to me through feeling that her career had stalled out, and with two small kids, sort of feeling like maybe that was just what it was going to be while she was raising her kids. And when we had a conversation, she said, you know what? I want more now. Why do I have to wait? And so we got to work, and LaKeisha's going to tell some of her story. But this week, what I'm highlighting are stories like LaKeisha, because I want to give a bigger voice to Black women who have really excelled and accelerated their careers when, as we all know, the forces against Black women are just double and triple what they are against all women in the workplace. And all nationalities other than white have that second problem of being still held as kind of like a minority status, literally. And I was just mentioning to LaKeisha, the Lean In organization, the foundation of Lean In, which Sheryl Sandberg started, put out a report with the McKinsey Company, the state of Black women in corporate America. And when I read that, I was moved so much because I know the stories behind the data here. And the work that we do in our Kick-Ass workshop, we help all women lift their soul up so that they are feeling more powerful in life, and in particular in the workplace. LaKeisha, you're an attorney, so you invested a lot in being smart and being a kick-ass professional. When we got to work with each other, sort of what was going on with you and that sort of thing, like tell the tale.
Sure, thank you. And thank you for inviting me to meet and interview today. So, gosh, when did we start? It was almost a year ago, right? It was December of 2019.
December of last year, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I was, I don't know, just scrolling through Facebook and saw Coach Mo's Bring Your Soul to Work. And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. Like, I would like to bring my soul to work and show up as my authentic self. Yeah. And, joined the webinar, and then, scheduled a clarity call. And, just really, something really spoke to me about the program, because I, as you mentioned, I have two small kids, and I'm an attorney. And I've kind of, since law school, I've kind of just gone where the opportunities were, right? Like I right out of law school, went to work for the federal government at U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, in a management, leadership program, like Presidential Management Fellows program is what it's called. So it's a program to get your foot in the door in the federal government and like a pathway to leadership. Yeah. Quickly realized that it was not what I was expecting, right? It just wasn't challenging enough. It wasn't where I didn't want to end my career already kind of coasting in the federal government. I wanted just to be, I was like, I'm young. This is the time where I'm supposed to be really killing myself and making a difference and, challenging myself with work and helping to make a difference in the world. So I had recently got married. Right after that, had my first child. Then I was like, okay, am I crazy to leave this? People talk about the federal government like you never leave the federal government because it's just a cushy, opportunity and job and gig.
Challenge yourself.
Right. Why? And so I spoke to my husband, talked to my husband about it, and was just like, can we do this? Should I do it? Now, also, mind you, at this point, I was pregnant with our second child. And I'm like, can we leave? Can I leave? And then the job that I'd found, which was more of a challenge and was definitely putting me in the right direction, was like a $20,000 pay cut. And so pregnant with second child, leaving the federal government, the cushiness and the stability of that, pregnant with the second child to go take a policy counsel position at a nonprofit. So more in the legal policy work lane, more challenging, more in the direction of where I wanted my career to be going. My husband, completely supportive, as usual, just said, if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. Because you're going to move up more and more in the government, and it's going to be harder to take a step back. And so you just got to go. You're miserable, just do it. So did that, stayed there for a couple of years, found another position, wound up at AARP, which is where I was when you and I met, and loved my work and the job there. But quickly realized that I was split between two teams. So there's in the government affairs division, there's a federal advocacy team and a state advocacy team in the headquarters. And so I was split between two teams. I was the only one that was split between two teams, so doing the double duty. And I was also the only one on both of my teams. It was like a legislative representative instead of a senior legislative representative, which means more money, the title,
Right.
the things that you expect when you're working hard and you're, proving yourself. And so
Like, I should be here. What's going on?
I should be here with the rest of my colleagues. Yeah. How does that look when we're out presentations or doing, you have your PowerPoint presentation and my name, legislative representative, my colleague's name, senior legislative. So it's just like we're doing the work, we're not getting the same. We have different titles. So really just was frustrating trying to push for more and asking for more at ARP, not seeing the results of that. And I understood they were just saying that it was going to just take a while. Didn't think anyone had any urgency in trying to fix it. I stayed there for 2 years, and that's when you and I happened upon each other. I found you, and you really asked some great questions in our clarity call. And you basically said, LaKeeshia, I'm 41 now, but I think then I was 40. And you said, or I guess no, because it's December. I was 41, and you said, okay, you're already in your 40s. You're an attorney. Like, you have a great career. Experience behind you. You are not where you should be. You're not getting the money you should be getting, and you're not at the level of your career that you should be at this point in your life. I was like, gosh, okay, great, Coach Mo. Way to make
me feel good. But it was
a wake-up call. It was
microscope clarity, right?
Listen, it was clarifying for real, because it was a call. It really to think. And I think as women, a lot of times we think this is, I'm where I deserve to be, or this is what, where I should be happy with whatever I've got. And I was doing well for myself, but you're right. But I had been trying to get into more management roles, a senior led rep, for example, or a director position somewhere else, and was really having a hard time breaking through because I'd never managed before. And so that was where what we drilled down on and we're really focused on was, okay, how do you sell to your, future employers that you're ready for this next step in your career with the experience you have, having never been a manager of staff, having managed fellows and interns and so on, but that you're ready for that next step, just like anyone else, could be. So, so now we're here. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you want me to keep talking about now?
So we went to work in our 12-week process, and we take, as we take our clients through a very proven formula, step 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through the 12 weeks. And there's a progression, first of all, of you recognizing how awesome you are, being able to basically put that then on paper career-wise, getting it on your resume, LinkedIn, getting ready to talk about it, being able to show up on, we've been doing videos for 5 years. Now it's like, that's what everyone's interviewing with. So, so getting ready to be able to say with confidence what you bring to the table and what you offer so that you can begin imagining yourself at this new level. So you, because you're such a great student and very professional, followed the process and kept progressing. Actually, we met in person when you were like in week 3 or something. You were just kind of getting started, and we met in person. And I think I remember you leaning over and saying, you know what, this has already made me a better mom.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, that's my secret weapon. I want to make you a better mom, person, daughter, wife, whatever. When you bring your soul alive, it does change everything, doesn't it? Like you just show up differently in life. So as you're getting into that process, what are you beginning to notice about yourself, or just, again, some of the shifts that you're making in your daily life? What are the things that occurred first for you as we went through our process?
I think, I was interviewing already, right, when I started the program. And I quickly got scheduled for an interview, the job that I'm in now, right after starting your program. I think I started in the middle of December, and by the middle of January, I was on the interview for the job I'm in now. And just completely, the exercises we do at the very beginning that really help you to drill down. As I said, I think I had just kind of floated like, oh, this looks like a good opportunity. I'll go here.
Yeah.
Or, oh yeah, you want me? That's amazing. I'll come work for you,
Right.
And not really just taking the time to identify what I wanted and what really spoke to me and my soul to make sure that it was the right fit for me. And so just helping to drill down on where I would be my authentic self and what are my core values and what's my mission statement and what are my strengths and skills that I really really bring to this role. So being able to go into that interview in the next month and just be very confident in that delivery of I can do this on the director level that you're interviewing me for. I'm qualified and I deserve this job. And let me tell you how great I am, and talking about like really bringing your soul to work and showing up as your authentic self, right? Like on so many, as a Black woman, because we're talking about Black women and the issues we face, right? Our hair, right? That's such a huge thing. Like, should I straighten? I mean, it's so unfortunate, like having to think, do I need to look different before I go into this interview so that they are not threatened by my natural curls, right? Should I straighten my hair? Should I go in with, it's just so many things that we have to worry about that it's just, it's unfortunate. And so I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that this time. I'm going in as my authentic self. I went in with my natural curls. You and I had talked about like, do I mention having kids? Do I mention, are they going to think I'm not going to be able to do this job? It's going to be too demanding for me with young children. I completely went in talking about my kids and how they, have changed my life and made me a better mom and made me even better to do the job that I am now. The interview was with the Deputy Mayor for Education's office. So, they completely understand kids and, like just talking about my experience with them going through their education, public, education here in DC. And so it was just it felt like a great fit authentically, being myself. I feel like it was such a good interview that they asked me a question about what made you really interested in this job. And I started talking about my experience. My first job out of undergrad, I actually taught middle school in North Carolina, where I'm from. And I talked about the kids that I was teaching and how they were just, very, kids from like one of the lowest income communities in the city and had not ever left the city and just, hadn't been exposed to a lot of different things. And we were talking about, what do you want to do when you grow up? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? And that they just they didn't have big dreams because they didn't know, right? That it's okay to dream and to think. And so they responded with things like, I want to be a cashier at the Winn-Dixie, or, I want to bag groceries at the food line, kind of things, right? Like not even thinking like I can be and do whatever I want to be, right? This is pre-Obama. So there's no, I can be the president. There was no, no big ideas. And so I started talking about that in an interview and how that has really stuck with me and motivated me to want to make sure that everyone has access to opportunities, no matter where you come from. And that's why education is so important to me, and housing where you live is so important because it's all so connected. And I got very emotional and started like tearing up. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't, and so I finished it very, like I said, confidently and authentically. And then when I walked out, I was like, oh, they're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to either think I'm really crazy or they're going to think, oh, she's really passionate. We have to hire this woman right away. And that was on a Thursday. I got the call on a Monday, which was a holiday because it was MLK Day, that they wanted to hire me. And I was like, ah! So I think the evidence of the class showed itself like immediately, right? One of my good girlfriends said very profoundly when I talked to her, because then I came back to you and joined the Kick-Ass Leadership Academy too, right? And now I'm in another promotion position at the same job. And it happened right after I signed up for the Kick-Ass Leadership Academy and started doing that work. And so one of my girlfriends said, made a very profound comment, and she was like, you know what? Every time you bet on yourself, you win. I was like, you know what? You're right. You're right.
That was great words. That was
very
great words.
Yes.
And what better to bet on than yourself?
Exactly. But it's, you're taught not to do that, right? You're taught to put everybody else first as a
Every
woman,
woman,
as a
every,
mom.
and Black women, and how I understand being super polite and being sort of fearful of pissing people off. And I mean, yeah, it's like, ooh, am I allowed? May I please? Can
Mhm.
I? Um, and you mentioned getting emotional in the interview.
Yeah.
That's not polite. Okay. I mean, but here's the thing. Your bigness of what you are, what you care about, what is important to you is exactly the reason why someone wants you on their team.
Yes.
And when we hide that because we've
Yeah.
been told to shut it down and don't be like that, and that's not proper, and people aren't going to like you, they're going to think whatever. And if that's the vigilance that you're carrying through life, first of all, it's draining as all hell. It wears us down. It starts to bleed into everything that we doubt ourselves about. And that's so cool that your friend saw that every time you bet on yourself, you win. That is fantastic.
Yeah, it was a good quote. I was like, you're right. You're so right.
Yeah, because you're telling yourself at a deep level, I'm worth the next thing.
Yep.
And absolutely. And so here you are now, less than a year in your new job.
Yeah.
Several months ago, they tapped you on the shoulder for an interim promotion because someone was out on maternity leave, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute, I just got here. You're putting me in that position to support that while she's gone? What?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And there's more work to be done. There's always more work to be done, right?
Yeah.
Because now I see, like one of my friends was asking me about the position and the job, and I started talking about the reasons that I may have been chosen. And she was like, wait a minute, are you second guessing and downplaying why you were picked to do this job? And I was like, I mean, maybe, but I'm also kind of just giving the realistic, lay of the land kind of. But it is, I mean, it's unfortunate that those things are just always kind of creeping
Right.
thoughts, creeping back there.
Gotta
Like,
slap those gremlins away a little bit more, right?
have
Yeah,
to.
absolutely.
Like, am I deserving of this? Am I doing a good enough job? Am I, why did you pick me? Why? But yes, so I've been asked, I started there at the end of February, still in the program, still in the initial,
Yeah,
bring your
right.
social work program, KICAS program.
Yeah.
And my current supervisor at the time still is, she's just out on maternity leave. She decided to have a baby, and they said, well, we're gonna have to find someone to fill her role while she's out. And the deputy mayor, my boss, said, I'm going to call people on the senior leadership team and start having conversations with you all about who that should be. And I immediately thought, oh, well, that won't be me. This was in June, maybe July, probably early July. I just started like 3 months ago, basically, because it was the end of February. And so I'm like, I'm the newest person here. I'm still learning things. I'm coming from the housing world. We're in education now. Like, I'm still learning a lot. Not to mention, this is my first foray in the local government space. I've been in nonprofits, I've been in federal government, so I was like, okay, well, he's going to make these calls to other people on the team. And then when he called me to ask me to step into the role, I was like, what?
You must
So
have the wrong LaKeisha.
I was like, wait, what? But so it's amazing because clearly very early on they saw, right, that I mean, one of the main reasons that he mentioned when we spoke about it was like how quickly I've made relationships in the building with other,
Yeah.
branches of the government, like the council and other colleagues and other agencies within our own team, within the senior leadership team. So, because I've always been that kind of, which is one of the core values we talked about in the program, right? I'm all about community building, and I've kind of always been like, just can't we all get along? Like, I just want everybody to, play nice and get along, and let's work together and get it done.
Right.
So they very quickly picked up on that, I guess, because I've shown up in my authentic self, and that was one of the things they valued.
You weren't hiding and trying to be a version of you that you thought they were wanting you to be. You were practicing and had practiced and given yourself permission with the tools, of course, that we teach you and show you how to do, but you have to give yourself the permission to be that version of you. And when you do, the stuff that matters the most is what that is.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Let's face it. Are there better attorneys than you? Maybe. Are there worse attorneys than you? Sure.
Definitely.
Okay. So being an attorney or being good at your job is like a plus or minus 50%. Like there's a big wide range of competency that you can be at to keep a job.
Right.
Let's face it. It's the stuff about your soul and your personal power and your influence and your engagement that is the difference maker. Because you could be an average or below average competent in your job, but you're like super above average at influence and engagement and making things happen, you're going to soar. And if you're below average in that, you're going to get stuck. And when you're hiding your brilliance and you're not giving yourself permission to be awesome, you're keeping yourself away from your light.
Right.
And that, as you know, is the journey we take our ladies through. Like, let's pull off all those layers that are causing you to hide yourself. Let's expose that, first of all, to you. Let's help you articulate that and be that. Let's practice it week after week. And then when you go on an interview, you're like totally showing up as your rock star self and being powerful. And they're like, we got to hire her because she's like got something to say and she cares about stuff and she's smart and we like her.
Yeah.
And that's the magic power of your soul. And, I guess you liked it that enough that we went into, an accelerator program and at the Academy, there were some other things about being able to navigate a complex organization and being able to have strategies around how do I make myself who feels awesome and ready for the next level, how do I execute on that stuff? And you can't do that if you don't feel awesome.
Yes.
Like you can have a guidebook to being awesome, and if you don't feel it, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to be that.
Right.
And it's so great to see you not only shine as a professional woman, but also as a Black woman. I'm sure you're inspiring people at your workplace because of how you're showing up. I'm sure of it. I'm positive. Yes. And I know you've got 2 young people who you mean the world to, and them watching you, again, as you know, kids watch the unspoken. They see how we act and how we are. They see our commitment. They see our joy or lack thereof. And I know that you've given them much more brightness coming from their lovely mother than you did before. No offense to the before picture, but
Yeah.
I have a sense of what was going on there. You were just shut down.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
And now you're just shining bright enough that you're going, really? Am I allowed to be this bright? And I'm here to tell you, you're just getting started.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have, my daughter has been saying lately, every chance she gets, Mommy, you work too hard. You work too hard. Mommy has to work. Like that's her thing now. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I'm showing her too much that, like we have to work hard. But then I'm like, this is going to stick with her. And she's going to realize like, you have to work hard to get what you want, You
do have to put in the work. I mean, and you know what? I know that you enjoy it. Like, is it all joy? Probably not, but you enjoy the impact and the work that you're doing, right? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I pretty much know that.
No, I love work. I love working. I would not be the mom that I am if I wasn't able to work and know that I'm making a difference in the world, right? Like not just working.
Yes. And that's the complete message to your daughter, to your son, to every daughter and son out there is work by its word is painful. But the new way of bringing your soul to work and enjoying what you do and realizing that you do have impact is that your talents are contributing to the betterment of the world.
Yes.
I mean, that's where we are right now as human beings. Like toiling for nothing is done. And feeling like you have to take jobs because that's what was offered to you, done.
Yes.
And not having your own path or being just situationally, oh, that looks interesting. And then you wake up, with 10 years left in your career and you're like, I don't even know how I got here.
Right.
So you've got a path, you've got a fantastic career ahead of you, whether you stay where you're at or you expand from that and go in another upward direction. There's so much opportunity for you. And now doesn't it make sense as to who you are and what you've been and where you are now.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm excited. I have no, so when we did that part in the Kick-Ass Leadership Academy about where do you see yourself, where do you want to go? That was really hard, but really enjoying the now. I worked hard to get here. And so I'm
Yes.
like, I just got here. I want to enjoy this a little bit longer before I start planning for the next, you know?
Yes.
So I still don't know what's next
Mhm.
and where I want to go,
Sure.
but I am really enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you keep unveiling who you are and you keep showing up as the biggest version of LaKeisha, opportunities are going to match that. When you're shut down, there's no rhyme or reason to it, because
Yeah.
there's no, the attractor pattern isn't matching your greatest brilliant self. So if you stay your greatest brilliant self, the path forward is going to be pulling you toward what it is that you're putting out.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you can't think about it and be strategic a bit, but that combination keeps pulling you forward. And that's, to me, the brilliant thing is of what we do in our 12-week workshop is that it sets the stage for the rest of it. Like, it's an ongoing, continued, oh, I know how to do that. Oh, that. Oh, that. Oh, yes, this is truly me. Okay, yes. I can talk about myself. I can say hello to people. I can recognize their brilliance. I can do, and it just sets the stage for the next thing. LaKeisha, as a Black woman, there's a lot of obstacles that face Black women as they progress in their careers. What advantages do you have now that you know how to show up as the most brilliant version of you right now? What advantages do you have in the workplace that you didn't have last year?
I think just realizing that I deserve to be there, right? I deserve knowing that first, that I deserve to be in the room. I deserve the seat at the table.
Yeah.
And whatever I have to share and say is just as important and valuable as the next person, right? No
Yeah.
more second guessing so much like, oh, if I ask that question, or if I say that, is that going to look like a dumb thing, or like, oh, I can't believe she asked that or said that. And
Yeah.
then the next person says it and everyone's like, oh, that's a good point. You're like, I was just thinking that. Like, stop, just to make, really just reminding myself that that I'm where I'm supposed to be. I deserve to be there. I've worked hard for it.
Yeah.
I have just as much right to it as everyone else. Is really the main thing that I'm learning and exploring. And like you were just saying, right? I mean, once you're in the room and you're in this role, it just leads very nicely to the next thing. Because until you're there, until you're in the leadership positions, you just don't understand the level of the conversations, the fast pace of the conversations and the decision making and the, just reading the room and understanding how the person that you're trying to convince of whatever it is thinks or makes decisions. So just being even more experienced in that skill, so that now I can pick up on the cues and the words and the little, like we studied in the Leadership Academy, right? Like, you pick up on the language and the words and the things that are being said, so like, okay, I know where this person is coming from. Now I know how to tailor my next pitch or whatever the next time.
Yes.
So I think just being in there just is preparing me for whatever's to come, whatever's coming next. Because now I'm like, okay, I know the language, I know the lingo, I know the pace of movement of things. So.
Yeah. What would you tell another Black professional woman with 2 kids at home who feels like she's sort of had to settle because she didn't know that there was another way? What would you say to her?
Call Coach Mo. I really do. I've recommended so many people to your program because it's just so helpful. Like the little exercises we did in the beginning of the program with the superheroes, and I'm just like, who would have thought that helps me figure out like what I'm really about? But it really worked. So like, I think as women, we really have a hard time identifying what our strengths and weaknesses are, what our skill set is, what our mission is, right? What's our thing that really drives us, that really gets us up, our why, right? We just kind of, especially as Black women, like I mentioned earlier, I know me personally, kind of accept whatever it is, and not really being clear on, okay, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to search for, and this is, I'm not going to settle for whatever's being offered to me. I'm going to negotiate. I'm
Yep.
going to, come in knowing my worth. And
Uh-huh.
so I think I would just say, you have to try, you have to fight. Don't just give up and settle and coast through your career, right? Because like you said, who wants to retire and look back and say, what did I even do? What did I accomplish? Where did I spend my time?
Yeah.
And like you said, our kids are watching. Our kids are learning from us, and we want to show them, the next generation,
Yeah.
that you deserve everything, and you are just as great as the next person. So I
Yes.
think just being a good example for the next generation is, as a mom, as a Black mom, is so important.
Yeah. You know, one of the interesting things I usually talk about when I do a clarity call is the math of a career advancement or the math of no career advancement. And at the age of your, being in your early 40s, you easily have another 20 years of awesome career ahead of you. And the math of that is an upward trajectory, or it's flat. And there is nothing that you can do more for your future, your family, than to have an upward trajectory of your career, because there's no other investment. And you mentioned, your friend saying you always win on investing in yourself. There is no other investment that's going to pay you the same trajectory of your career going in the direction of being awesome. And with 20 more years left, I mean, it's millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just doing the math, it's millions of dollars. And it
Wow.
could either be, 2 million, or it could be 3.5 million or 4. I mean, that's a big difference of the curve.
Yeah.
And so if you keep growing and accelerating and going into higher and higher contribution and leadership, you're going to be earning millions more than if you just kind of like, oh, whatever, and coast along and this. And that matters a lot, not only for your own personal satisfaction, but the bank account. There's nothing you can do. I don't care what stocks you invest in. It's not going to pay you that. It's not going to pay back that big delta. So I'm excited for you, because I know that that's the seeds that you've planted for your family and your future. Not only that, but the brightness of who you are now and who you will be continuing as you grow is just, it's phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah. No, when you put it like that, I want that.
Yeah.
I have to pay for some college tuition coming up. Like,
You want that to be easy, right? And you want your kids to have choices and not to be like, well, sorry, son, we can't afford that.
yeah.
Or hey, daughter, sorry, only one of you can go where you want to go. I got to pick one of you to, I mean, that's not where you want to be. And it's not where you ought to be with what you've already invested in your education and what your earlier career was. So I just want to say congratulations and bravo to you for believing in yourself enough to say, you know what, maybe I should learn about the next level and taking myself up. Maybe I can be that next version. And here you are to tell the tale in less than a year. Look what's happened with, not happened like you pass it with, like, look what you've been able to achieve for yourself and your family. And it's just a wonderful beginning. And I'm just loving talking to you, just to know who you were less than a year ago. And of course, it's always a delight when I get to meet my beautiful clients in person. It was a real gift to say hello to you at the end of last year. And maybe someday again, we will be able to see each other in person. But really, congratulations on all that you have achieved for yourself. I know that this interview, LaKeeshia, is going to be inspirational to women of all colors, but in particular, I really want to help inspire Black women to know that there are things that they can do to lift themselves to the next level. It doesn't have to be the constraints winning. You can be the winner. And thank you for showing that and telling your story. Really, really great. We'll see you on the Kick-Ass campus in all the wonderful stuff of your future. And thanks again for the interview. And it's just a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Folks, LaKeeshia's story is awesome and wonderful and beautiful.